So today we're going to be looking at guitar chords and how guitar chords are actually formed. Now I know this is boring theory, but this stuff is really useful, especially if you're playing something on the guitar strings or you're learning the tab and you don't like the position of a certain tab, so you want to change it around on the fretboard. That's really useful, and it also helps us figure out how actual chords are formed, like the G major chord or the C major chord, why we play those things like we do. So this isn't as difficult as it seems, so let's get into it right now. Now, keyboard and guitar are kind of similar, and all Western music is kind of the same. If you think about a keyboard, all those little white notes are just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it continues on those white notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all across the keyboard. That just goes in different octaves. Now, I don't actually play piano, but that's how it works. Now, guitar works in a similar way. If you just take the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, now there are some exceptions to those A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that is sharps or flats. But just worry about sharps for now. Let's call them the 12 notes of music. We go A, and then there's a sharp between A and B. So the second string is an open A, right? We know that. We'd have A as the open string. The next one would be A sharp. And now the one rule you need to remember is that there is no sharp between B and C, and there's no sharp between E and F. It just is like that. You just have to learn that. So between B and C, there's no sharp, and between E and F, there's no sharp. All the other notes from A, B, C, D, E, F, G have a sharp in between them. So A sharp, B, remember there's no sharp between B and C, so the next one would just be C, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and remember there's no sharp in between E or F, so F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and then back to A again. Another octave, a higher octave, but this is just A. Now that configuration of notes appears all over your fretboard. And you could find those A, B, C, A sharp, B, C, D, D sharp on all the areas of your fretboard on every single string. They just start in different locations, but they just continue to iterate. So it just goes A to G, and then A to G, and then A to G again on your fretboard. So we know how the notes go up the guitar fretboard, but how do you actually make a C major scale, for example? Well, the second string from the bottom of your guitar up, the second string is an open B. If we wanted to make the C major scale, we start on the first string because it goes B, C. There's no sharp in between B and C, remember? So we know that that's C. That's our first root note of the C major scale. All we actually need to do now is use the formula whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And when we say whole, whole, half, we're just going, we want to skip an entire fret in between each note. And this is to create the C major scale. So from C, the first note, we'd skip an entire fret and go C, C sharp, D. So the next note would be D. So we'd go C, D. The next note would be D sharp, E, E. So we've gone C, D, E, and we only want to skip a half now, which takes us to E and F, because E doesn't have a sharp, remember? So we go to F, and then we go whole, whole, whole again. So we go G, that's a G, and then G sharp A, because it goes back to A. So G, A, and then what would we do? We'd skip another whole, and that would take us to B, which is the same as the open string, but there's still one more to go in this particular scale, and that's only a half skip, which is one skip, and that'll take us to the ending chord, which is a C, 13. Which is the same. So 13th fret is a semitone higher than the first C, but that's the last note in this particular. It's actually the same as the first note. So if we then take those notes that we've made, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, which is the same as the start. Now if we skip, again, the final part of this formula to create the chord is to create the triad. And that just means taking the first, the third, and the fifth note of that scale to create the chord. If we circle those notes, as you can see on the diagram, we get C, E, and G. So if we can find the C, E, and the G anywhere on this fretboard and play them together, we're playing a C major chord. So just to recap what we've done, we've used this whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half formula just to skip the individual notes on the fretboard, and that gives us 8 different notes. This is the first step in calculating the C major scale. Now we can write the numbers 1 to 8 and actually just assign C to number 1, D to number 2, E and F will get 3 and 4, G will be number 5, and A, B, and C will take 6, 7, and 8. That gives us our C major scale. Then I've circled 1, 3, and 5. Those are the notes we need for a C major chord. We need one C, an E, and a G. But let's look at our traditional C chord. It goes like that. Well, this note's actual a C. So we've already fulfilled one part of those 3 triad notes. We've got the C in there already. E, A, D, so the D is the 3rd string. Then we go D, D sharp, E. So we've got the E part of our chord. So that's the first part of our C chord. And what would this particular note be? Because that's a 2nd string. That's an A. So it's A sharp, B, C. We've got the C twice. We've got a C and E and another C at the bottom. C and that one, and then a C at the bottom. If we notice we play the original C, there's actually a G already, because it's E, A, D, G. So the 4th string from the top is G, and it's open. So technically, you already have the G chord in there. That's why playing the C is perfectly fine. So that's why a lot of people play the full version of the chord of the C, because you're incorporating this top string, which is indeed a G note, getting that triad in there. And it sounds much more fuller. And the best thing you can do is just practice these things. The more and more you actually fiddle around and start figuring out things on the fretboard, the easier it'll get to find C's and D's. G sharp, C sharp, all those things are just pretty much second nature when you practice them. So hopefully you hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it, and see you again next time for more videos.